So hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about research method part 2. So I'm assuming you did already part 1 in semester 1. So the main thing I'm going to talk about, okay? So introduction is the first thing you need to include in this introduction. So the main thing, so what you need to include in this introduction. Okay, you did literature review in part 1. Here you need to mention the main areas and the main funding from the literature review, and you need to include your topic questions, the aims and objectives, so the part 2 tutor that is correcting knows what you're talking about. So you need to mention like brief things, and from this topic question you need to drive like 3 questions. Okay, for example, from the main one there are 3 questions that you are interested to find out about in this research or in this study. This is the introduction. Okay, don't forget to mention like the 3 questions, 2 or 4 of them that you're really interested in. And then these questions are from the same topic. Okay, after introduction we are talking about research strategy. Okay, in research strategy you need to talk about which strategy are you going to follow. Are you going to go, for example, are you going for qualitative methods or quantitative methods, and why you're going for qualitative over quantitative? You need to mention why you use this one. And positivism, for example, if you go for quantitative. Okay, so you need to talk about why, and you need to do the reference it if because I'm interested, for example, to find out about the answer of this questions or hypothesis. I'm going to go for quantitative, and they are discussing this and this, and reference it. Okay, just find about what they say about quantitative or qualitative. This is it. You need to prove it why you choose this one in research strategy. And afterwards you talk about data collection methods. So data collection methods. So in this one you need to talk about, with data collection, you need to talk about sampling. How are you going to use the sampling? Okay, so I'm going to do I'm going to for example briefly talk. We're going to get list of people from different countries, do the sampling. This is what I'm going to use, for example, stratified strategy or statistics or whatever you're going to use, and say why and how are you going to use it. How are you going to do this sampling? Okay, let's just go and read a little bit about sampling. I'm going to do this sampling, and the confidence level, and then you need to talk about the primary how you're going to use it. So the primary data. So when we talk about how you're going to use it, for example, questionnaire, primary data, we're talking about you going your hand dirty, put your hands dirty on the things, you getting the raw data. How are you going to get this raw data? I'm not talking about secondary data. Yeah, you need to mention them. You need to mention that secondary data, I'm going to look online, the credible and for example online frame database discovery. I'm going to use this statistical government website. So you need to use this. You need to talk about secondary data, but I'm talking now about primary data. You're going to go and ask people or do interviews or do questionnaires, but you need to talk about the one that is more common. For example, if you go for quantitative, or for example if I go for qualitative, I'm going to go for more for interviews, and if I go for qualitative, it's more for questionnaires. And I need, for that, I'm going to talk about questionnaire. I'm going to ask people, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, a little bit about it, how you're going to do this questionnaire. Okay, that's it. So this is the data collection method. And afterward we have analysis, data analysis. Okay, the data analysis, you're talking about, okay, I collected the data by using questionnaire. Okay, just don't forget, for data collection, whenever it's more about referencing, whenever you say questionnaire, you need to think about questionnaire. For example, you need to find a reference that something saying the study is using more questionnaire. For example, the study you're using with number, because you're going to investigate numbers, you're going to see the correlation or the relation between these variables. I'm talking about variables, I'm talking about age or number or whatever it is. So this, you need to find the reference why you use this over the other thing. Okay, for example, I'm going to use questionnaire is better than the interview because it's more, for example, time consuming. You find like you give people more time to discuss and write about their ideas, their things, and because I'm more interested in numbers, so this is what the one that's gonna give me more statistical analysis. So these things you need to talk about and back it up with references. And there are more, just make sure that you use the book research method books. There are so many of them, and you can use them and you can reference by saying I use this book. Just go ebooks online. You can go ebooks, research methods book, journals. Put, for example, qualitative data, quantitative data. And then you find out a lot of references about them you can reference. So the data analysis, come back to data analysis. I'm just going to use the arrow to see where I'm here. You need to say how you're going to analyze the data, okay? So the data I'm going to use, for example, to analyze my data. So they have kind of univariant, bivariant, or multivariants. Or you need to talk about correlations, regression analysis. So just a little bit. You don't have to go deeper. Just say things like that. And don't forget to mention that, for example, for me, or for questionnaire, or for quantitative, I'm talking because I was always talking about quantitative, more about quantitative ones, a questionnaire. So the one there is SPSS statistics. This application is very good and makes life so easy by doing all the calculation you need, the frequency, the mean, the statistical things. So for example, distributions and everything you need. And you need to mention that you're going to do, for example, pie graphs and graphs, like different graphs you're going to use because you have different variables. You need to mention a little bit about variables you're going to use. When I say variables, should be, you need to talk about age, as I said, age or income, people, revenue. So because your question will change with the variables. For example, they have different gender. If they will differ with the gender, they will differ with people, education. They will differ by a lot of variables. This variable, just you need to mention a little bit about them in data analysis. Okay, the things that you are investigating, because your research has like a variable that is depending on some variables, okay, because they change the results, the result of your question. The variable in question change its results because of the variables I just mentioned. Okay, so data analysis, you need to say I have this variable, so I need to analyze them using regression method or this because I have a lot of variables. Okay, multivariance variance method is more because I have more than one and I need to do this and that. So talk a little bit about it in data analysis. Then it comes ethics. Okay, so let's do ethics. Ethics is nice and easy. You just need to talk about ethics. It's like a common sense things. You need to talk about confidentiality, privacy. To talk how you need to be dignity and anonymous, keep things secret and don't reveal if the people you interview and you do the question, it doesn't want you to do these things, and you need to respect them, to respect the data, things like that. You need to talk about them, do some references, a lot of things about, if you go to journals, put ethics, or if you go to Google Scholar, do ethics, a lot of things coming up. And then you have structure, the research structure. Okay, in this research structure, nice and easy as well. This ethics and structure is really easy. The structure, you need just to talk about what you're going to include in your research for next year. For example, you say in the chapter 1, I'm going to use introduction. I'm going to talk about the basics about my research, my study, and then I'm going to go for methodology. No, before. And the second chapter, I'm going to talk about literature review. And then in third chapter, I'm going to do methodology, where I'm going to talk about data collection, this and that. And then at the end, I'm going to do data analysis, and the last chapter or whatever you have, I'm going to do conclusion and summarize my finding. So basically, this is all the things that you need to include in your research method part 2. And that's it. So don't worry about it. Just do more of, in Google Scholar, do more about referencing the things, and that's it. So hope you the best. Thank you very much. Please subscribe in my channel. You will see more. I'm going to include some for derivatives and some for this contemporary issue. And tax, if you're doing tax, and more things. Thank you. And please ask me if you need any question, any answer.